Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Game Over Ottawa. Charlie and Maude back once again, and for the first time this season on a dual host stream, we actually get to celebrate a victory. So you know what that means?
Hit the button.
There it is. There it is. The Pittsburgh Penguins have been sensed tonight by the Ottawa Senators by a score of 5-2. Pretty funny game, to be honest. How are you feeling, Charlie?
It's weird. It's good and bad. I felt better after I don't know. I thought the Sens deserved to win against the Islanders, and I don't know if they really deserve to win this one. I think during this game, it feels a little bit better after the first period ended, but that first period felt like the inverse of the Sens Sabres game on Tuesday, where I didn't necessarily think the Sens lost because the Sabres were playing well. It was just that every chance the Sabres had went in, and that's kind of how the first period felt, I think. Not to say that the Sens didn't play a solid rest of the game, but that first period, brutal. But then they did. I'm rambling. We're
Already rambling. Oh my God,
10
Charlie.
seconds in and I'm already off the rails. Reel me back in. Start talking about something so I can.
Yeah, well, main point here tonight is that they did enough to get a W, which they haven't been doing lately. So we're really happy about that, and we're going to get into lots of things about tonight's game. But first, I just want to mention, of course, rest in peace to Matthew Perry. I believe Ottawa native, right? He was a big Sens fan and, of course, famous for Friends. Horrible to lose a member of the Sens army, and I don't know, I think I've never watched Friends, so it's not too close to me, but of course, as a Sens fan, just super sad news, and I think you've watched Friends, right, Charlie?
Yeah. From my understanding, growing up in Ottawa, he had always been an LA Kings fan, and then he moved to LA not too long before the Sens showed up. So as far as I can tell, he never lived where his favorite NHL team was at any given moment. But yeah, just someone who always found a way to fit in sports stuff. I've never seen the movie, but I know in the whole nine yards, he's wearing a shirt with the Sens logo on it at times.
Oh, that's awesome.
And I want to say it's an early season of Friends. I think it's in the first season. You see him. There's a shot of him at work. It's when he's trying to quit smoking. And he's in his cubicle, and there's a Toronto Blue Jays hat on his desk, just always finding a way to fit stuff in. So yeah, really, really sad to see that tonight, just out of nowhere.
Yeah, and like you said, he's a Hollywood guy, and he was still making time for the Sens. I think he was seen at a game as recently as last year. People were posting a picture of him on the Jumbotron, and I'm pretty sure it was a game from last season. So he was still making time for his hometown team, which was awesome. And yeah, just our thoughts are with all his friends and family as they're dealing with this loss.
Yeah, never going to be able to watch Friends the same way again. So
yeah,
yeah.
But had to get that out of the way, of course. Rest in peace, Matthew Perry. But we do have some more positive topics tonight with the 5-2 win for the Sens. I had to spin my Tkachuk jersey around tonight just to flex it.
Yeah.
Because he was kind of the heartbeat of the team tonight, at least on offense, I think. Him and Giroux, probably. Do you want to start there with the top line? I think that was probably... Do you think it was their best game so far this year? Because I think it might be.
Oh, yeah. Oh, for sure. And yeah, I think they were absolutely the best line for the Sens tonight, which I don't know how much of that has to do with the fact that our favorite second line was finally broken up for some reason going into this game. But yeah, no, that top line finally looked like the top line that we saw last season. And yeah, I don't know if it's just a matter, because everyone was saying how no one's had any complaints about Tkachuk so far this season, I don't think. A lot of it was how Stützle needs to do more, and if nothing else, he was way more noticeable. He was flying. Yeah, and then Giroux, just a solid all-around game from him. Had 2 primary assists on the first 2 goals, so zero complaints about the top line. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Best game of the season for them so far.
Yeah, through that first period, which was obviously just a gigantic mess, it was definitely Giroud as the MVP with setting up both of those goals. And of course, shout out to Ridley Gregg with the beautiful between the legs tip on that
Oh
first goal.
yeah.
That was sweet as hell too. I think he's at the top of the list for rookie point scoring now, if I'm
Oh, is he?
not misremembering,
Okay.
because he got 2 more points today, right? So at least near the top. I'm not sure if he's exactly number one, but that's something I wasn't expecting so far, to see so much offense from Ridley
That's
Greig
wild.
so quick. And of course, the setup from Giroud, as we were talking about the top line, I kind of went off on a random tangent there, but yeah, Stützle as well. I think we have to give full credit to him because I
Mhm.
thought he was flat out awful in the last game, and the couple games before that he was pretty bad too. But he really picked it up here tonight. He wasn't exactly taking over the game as we've seen him do before, but
Mhm.
like you said, the speed and just being way more engaged and able to pick up, was it 2 assists in the end? Did he get a second one?
Yeah,
Yeah,
two
yeah, he
assists.
did. It was a great play to just throw the puck on net on that second assist for the Kachuk goal. Because I think up until that point he actually didn't have any shots on net in the game, despite playing pretty well. So I'm glad that he
Yeah.
just threw it on net and they were able to get something out of it. It was just that kind of night where you just had to put the puck on net and seemed like something was going to happen.
Yeah, and an underrated part of that goal too, with Kachuk, like he's the guy that you stick in front of the net because he's impossible to move and he'll just shovel whatever in. His hands in tight on that goal.
For sure.
Oh my God. Like
That
you
was
forget
ridiculous.
that he's got hands. You
Mm-hmm.
completely forget. It's
Because like
crazy.
obviously he's good in front of the net, but that was filthy. Like
Yeah.
forehand to backhand shelf. Like I at first I didn't realize it went in for about a second because it was in and out so quickly. It was a beautiful move. So huge marks to the captain here tonight for carrying the offense. And then we also got to give credit to Dominic Kubalik for getting on the board for the first time this season with a goal, first point as an Ottawa Senator. I think it took a lot longer than everyone would have liked, but it's funny to me that he goes onto that Greg and Joseph line and then suddenly he looks good, right?
Call me call me ignorant, but I just would have assumed that given this the point totals that Tarasenko was going to be the play driver on that line. No,
Mm-hmm.
just put anyone with Joseph and Greg
Yeah.
and he's gonna do super well, I guess. It's so weird.
I wasn't expecting it to be like that at all, especially because I think, like, I mean, I was just saying Greg has a bunch of points now, but Tarasenko had as many as him, if not more. So it seemed to be that he was the guy driving things on that line, but he had a quieter night being moved with Batherson and Norris, although he did
Hmm.
pick up an assist in the third period. Um, Good for Batherson to get on the board too, because it's been a rough start to the season for him as well. So Batherson and Kubalik both scoring. Good to get them going. Like, I don't know what you've thought about Batherson's game, but I haven't been impressed with him like at all, and I wasn't impressed with him in this game. But then he scored, so it's like hopefully that will get him off the schneid, right?
Yeah, I think Batherson more than anyone else on the team, I flip flop like crazy from game to game. And I think a lot of that has to do with last season. And I think we pretty much know he played a lot of last season injured, which is maybe why he was so brutal defensively. Um, but yeah, no, Batherson, there are times with him throughout the season so far where I just like I can't believe how poorly he's playing. And then there are some times where he'll do something with the puck and I go, oh my God, is Tim Stützle right-handed? Like it, it's so back and forth. And yeah, like you said, really nice to see him finally get on the scoreboard. Yeah, great goal as well from him. Really like that move.
Yeah, that's the thing with Batherson that's frustrating is he has the ability to wow you with the puck, but the last time I remember him making an impact play like that was against Washington, where he had that assist to Norris after him and Kubalik were in on the forecheck, and
Oh,
then
that little behind the back pass.
yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah.
that was the last time we saw something really good from Batherson, like 4 games ago. So glad that he got something here today, even though I think his overall game still needs some improvement. But I also want to give credit to the fourth line tonight too, because this is a group of players that I feel like no one expects anything out of, but they actually had
Hmm.
some really good shifts today. For the first power play goal, they drew that penalty with solid pressure in the offensive zone. And in the third period as well, they had another shift where they were just banging and crashing around the crease. Very easily could have scored. They just maybe they don't exactly have the puck skills or the finesse in tight like Brady Kachuk does. But I thought that line was causing quite a bit of havoc tonight. Full marks to them too.
Yeah, I don't have the stats in front of me, but I want to know how many blocks that line had because it feels like a lot.
Oh,
Don't
I
have
was
the
about to
stats in
try to
front of me.
check it, but the freaking NHL box score does not have blocks in the basic box score.
Brutal. Brutal. NHL, you got to revamp your whole thing again, please and thanks. Um,
You know what? I wonder if this might tie in a little bit to what you're saying because now I'm seeing the 3 stars in this box score, and Parker Kelly is the second star, which I wouldn't have expected. Even though I was just saying that the fourth line was very good tonight, I wonder if Kelly specifically had like a lot of block shots or something that I just didn't pick up on because he also isn't credited with a hit in the box score, so I'm a little bit surprised now that I'm seeing this in
what's
the 3 stars.
That's strange.
That's a little weird to me. Unless 27, unless it was like an error, maybe it was supposed to be another number or something. Even though the fourth line was good tonight, have to give them credit for sure.
I'm gonna be stuck on this until I figure out what happened. That's
I'm
gonna
trying to figure
completely
out.
derail my head the rest of the show.
Oh my
What?
god! Wait. You know what? They don't even have Korpisalo in the 3 stars. They put Kachuk, Kelly, and Greg. How did they not have Korpisalo in there? What is that?
No, that's okay. What's going on? Okay, we'll talk about Korpisalo in a second, but I'm stuck on Parker Kelly.
So, Deltago in the chat says that each of the 3 guys on the fourth line had 1 block shot each, according to TSN. So thank you for that, Deltago.
Yeah, thank you for that stat.
I have to
I
wonder if
thought it would be
Kelly being
more.
the second star is an error on NHL.com. Like,
That's strange.
what
I
the
wouldn't
hell?
put it past them to have something wrong.
Yeah, their website
Um,
and their app are both trash, so it could just
Awful.
be a weird mistake. But since we were kind of getting into it a little bit, Korpisalo should have also been one of the stars of the game. Probably the second one, maybe first even. Like this was by far his best showing as a Sens player since, funny enough, also against the Penguins, he had that shutout in preseason in Halifax, I think, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, preseason back-to-back shutouts, both goalies, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he
We thought we were
honestly.
set. We thought we were set after those
Oh yeah,
back-to-back shutouts, eh? And oh boy, but better things
yeah.
tonight.
Oh yeah. That last goal was that last goal of the game. It was Gensler, right at the very end.
Yeah.
There were 30
Hmm.
seconds on the clock. Was that deflected?
I thought that
I
it
didn't catch a
was.
replay.
The
I couldn't tell
commentators
if it was
didn't.
deflected or what.
The commentators didn't pick up on it, but I was pretty sure that it hit like our defenseman in front of the net, whoever it was.
Okay. Because if it was a clean shot, I was saying that whole game because Corpy's thing is he'll stop 5, 6 shots in a row that he has no business stopping, and then he'll let in like a few softies. And if that and I didn't have time to like catch the replay of that, and I was like, if that was just that's the softie maybe. Um, but no,
I
if it
think
was
it was a really
deflected,
good
then
shot. So,
just a phenomenal game.
hmm
Just a phenomenal game from him. Definitely his best so far, without a doubt. Making me feel a lot better about him for sure. Not that I mean it's still very early. Not that I had that many doubts about him. Like he's impressed me enough games. Um, but yeah, just like so many great saves. He was trying to lie on top of the puck after a ridiculous scramble 5 times in
yeah,
this
that
game. I
happens
think
so
just
much. Yeah.
crazy. I wonder if
So,
anyone that was I can't remember who tweeted it, but someone said that Dean Brown probably had like an all-time high scramble
oh my God, that's so good.
on the radio
Yeah,
tonight. Yeah.
he might have set a record tonight. And you know, with the shot count, especially after the first period, this was giving me a little bit of deja vu to that Dylan Ferguson game at the end of last season.
Oh
If you
yeah.
remember, I don't remember if you did the show for that one or if I did, but that was a ridiculous one, and it felt a little bit like that, where I feel like the Sens are just always under siege going into Pittsburgh. I was actually pulling some stats before this game because going into road games in Pittsburgh just gives me really bad vibes. So I had to like confirm it if it was just me or if there was actually stats to back it up. The
Not
Sens
just you.
the Sens all-time road record versus Pittsburgh was 17, 32, and 7 before today. So now we're up to 18 wins there at least. But that's one of the worst. That's like top 5 worst road records against any team for the Sens in their whole franchise history. And then to make it even worse, on the broadcast they showed a stat that the Sens were 1-13-1 in the last 15. at the Pittsburgh arena. So
Yeah.
horrible odds going into this one. And there was also a stat that Korpisalo, his last 7 games, I guess it is, versus the Penguins, he had a 1-5-1 record. So I was like, I was really giving the Sens no chance here tonight, but they did just enough to pull through, even though the odds were not in their favor.
Yeah. I'm going back to it already. That first period felt a lot like that Islanders first period, except the difference was the Sens were up after it.
Yeah,
And
it was
then
eerily similar, other than the
yeah, and
goals. The
then
goals going
second
our
period
way.
too, right?
Second
Sens
period,
woke
yeah,
up.
much better, much better.
Second period played really well, and they kept it going through the third. Honestly, the third was maybe a little bit shakier to start, but
Mm-hmm.
just honestly, like, I mean, the bar the bar is low. But outside of playing like, I don't know, um Philly, probably the best overall 60 minutes the Sens have played this season. Like I
Which
said,
is
the bar is
funny
pretty
to
low,
say with how
but
bad the first period was.
yeah,
But
so a lot of progress to be made still.
I guess it's a bit of, it's kind of like exempted just because the first period was so bad, but we went up 2-0. So that counts as a win overall, and then it just becomes the best 60-minute effort. Um, and funny enough, you mentioned about like breaking it down between the first, second, and third there. High danger scoring chances. I think it's actually really interesting to look at them tonight because 10 for the Penguins in the first period, which obviously that makes sense, which is a ridiculous number for one period. 4 in the second period, which honestly I'm surprised they had that many because I don't think they had a shot in the second period until about 9 minutes in, and they were sitting on like 2 or 3 shots in that period until the last couple minutes before they
Yeah,
scored. So there was only a few in the second period, and then do you want to guess how many there was in the third
for the Sens
for the Penguins?
or for the
How
Penguins
many they got against the Sens?
in the third. I'm trying to picture like how much the shots jumped. 6.
So again, first period, 10 high danger chances against, and then 4 in the second period, and then in the third period, only 1. Sens only allowed 1 high danger
Really?
chance in the third period, according to Natural Stat Trick, which might have been the goal even. Like I don't know if that goal would have counted as high danger. It was kind of like in
I
the
don't
high
know.
slot. It might not count. I don't know if there's any way to figure out which shots were the high danger chances, but only 1 recorded, which is pretty amazing.
That's nuts. Is that all situations or just 5-on-5?
Yeah, because I don't think Pittsburgh even had a power play in the third period, so I had
Yeah.
it I had it set to 5 on, or had it set to all situations, but 5-on-5, same thing, with no special
Yeah.
teams play in that third period. That was interesting too because we've had a lot of Sens games where it's just been parades to the penalty boxes for both teams. Like even against the Islanders, what was it, 1 for 8 against the Islanders? Was that what it
Yeah.
was? Which
Yeah.
is the main thing that we were so pissed off about last game.
Yeah.
The refs put their whistles away tonight, and it was only 3 opportunities for us and 2 for Pittsburgh. I would say the power play still wasn't great tonight. Like the power play at the end of the second period after the Penguins scored, I was worried that was going to be a huge momentum killer because Penguins get that late period goal, which is already usually a momentum killer, and then you get a
Yeah.
chance to get it back, and we didn't really generate anything on that. But you do have to at least give the power play a little bit of props tonight, just because they scored on their very first opportunity. So at least that got us off on the right foot before the shot count went ridiculous in Pittsburgh's favor. At least we had a bit of a cushion, which does come from the power play, even though I didn't think they were great overall tonight. But what did you think about the power play?
I think after that game on Thursday, I just went in with such low expectations that I was pleased. I think if I
Yeah.
had gone in just with a more objective point of view, I think I'd also be like, it could be better, but I'm just happy there wasn't really even on the two they didn't score because they went 1 for 3. Even on the two they didn't score, I didn't really feel that upset about it. And like I said, I think that's maybe just my own fault for going in with such low expectations that I was just perfectly pleased with what I saw.
Mm-hmm. Another thing I was watching going into this game, in terms of the special teams, was that Pittsburgh's power play is surprisingly terrible. It was like 11% heading in today, and they
Really?
don't, yeah, and they don't get anything done here tonight either. So it'll drop just a little bit more with the 0 for 2. Given their
Wow.
personnel, that's shocking. And the reason I was looking at this going into the game is because our penalty kill has been so bad. And when we killed the first penalty of the game, it became 6 for 12 on our PK for the last stretch. So we hit 50% on the last 12 penalty kills, which is brutal. But I guess a little bit lucky that Pittsburgh apparently doesn't know what they're doing on the power play despite all that talent.
I can't believe that. Not that I've watched any Penguins games this year, so I have no idea, but that's nuts.
hmm And especially
Makes no
considering,
sense.
I was also expecting to come onto the show and just be talking about Erik Karlsson the whole time. I was expecting him to light us up. He was really quiet tonight too. We are over 20 minutes into the show and we haven't even mentioned him until now, which is pretty good.
It's a lot better than well, I mean, DeBrincat was held off the scoreboard too, but that was like, I think it took us 30 seconds to talk about
Oh
DeBrincat.
yeah,
So
yeah, we had to in that
that was
show.
we were real petty on that one. Yeah, barely noticed him, to be honest. Yeah, I don't know. I think also the difference is I have like absolutely zero like ill will towards Erik Karlsson.
Oh, me too. That's
Um,
the thing is that I still like him, but I hate the Penguins. So
oh yeah,
I was hating that he's on the Penguins, although I think I've like made peace with it at this point, mostly just because I don't think they're gonna be very good. Off to a not so great start, and they're the oldest team in the league. I knew they were the oldest team in the league, but I was surprised to learn today that their youngest player on the entire roster is 25, which is hilarious.
that drop off when it like, I mean, it's already started, right? They missed the playoffs last year, but when
hmm
they really fall off a cliff, it's going to happen so fast. It's going to be unbelievable. Just the oldest, yeah, like by far the oldest team. Like Carlson's the youngest, like star player, I guess, on the team, and he's what, 33?
Yeah, that's true. He's the youngest out of Crosby, Malkin, and Letang, right? Like they're all older, I think. Because
Yeah.
Carlson was like 2008 draft or 2009, and they were all drafted before then.
Yeah, 2008. And yeah. And this is what I think this is the 18th season of Crosby, Malkin, and Letang, because
Yeah, that's
Malkin
right.
was 04, and then Crosby and Letang were 05, which is so stupid that you can get two of them in one draft.
Ridiculous. And that's
So
not even
stupid.
mentioning Flurry. I think he was drafted a couple like before any of
Oh
those guys
three,
too.
first
So they
overall in
had
oh
yeah,
03.
they had him first overall as well. It's it might be looking like the downfall of the Penguins is upon us. It's funny because we were if we lost this game, we were going to be talking all about like fire DJ Smith, fire Dorion, and maybe there will still be a little bit of that to
Oh, we're gonna
address.
get to that.
Yeah,
We're gonna
we'll
get to
get to
that.
that very soon. But Pittsburgh with the 3-5 start now, they might be getting into fire Mike Sullivan territory. So that will be a little bit interesting. If their start doesn't turn around a little bit, it's gonna be looking a little ugly.
And it's also pretty incredible that like, and I mean, just because of Crosby and Ovechkin, like the Penguins and the Caps have been like stuck together for the last whatever that is, 18 years. And both teams fall off at the exact same time. They both just missed the playoffs last year, and they're both looking really rough to start this season.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty amazing how the timing of that all worked out.
Yeah, and I think before we get into that Dorion stuff, which is going to be spicy,
Oh,
last thing that I want to talk about from the game, which is probably just a bit of a brief note. Luckily, it didn't end up being too much of a consideration. Was that like we're out three of our regular defensemen, so obviously we had to call up Clevin and Madden Paolo.
yeah.
Not a lot of ice time for them tonight. I was excited to watch them and kind of try to pick out some specific things in their games and how they played, but like it was 2 minutes of ice time in the first period, 5 minutes after the second period, and they finished with both just okay. Yeah, Matt and Paolo 8 minutes 24 seconds, and Clevin 9 minutes 23 seconds. So he had 1 minute more. I was about to say they were both 8 minutes, but the text is really small on my screen. So not a lot of ice time for them tonight. Luckily, we have Chikrin and Sanderson, and also your boy Hamannik able to carry the defense tonight. I actually thought Hamannik was pretty good. Um, but
He had a solid game.
mhm.
He had a really nice play in the first, I think, where he shoveled the puck back under Korpisalo from behind him,
Yeah, he
saved a
basically
goal.
saved a goal. Yeah.
Probably should have had a goal as well. but offside. You know, that really
Yeah,
cool rule where you can
trash offside
say
review.
no goal because it was offside a minute ago. Um, yeah. Anyway,
It was so
yeah,
long
bright
in
bright game
between that
for Hamnick for
that
sure.
type of thing pisses me off. I think I've
It's
been over
awful.
it. I think I went over it so many times on the show last year of just like having an internal debate with myself over how they should try to change the offside rule. So I won't get into it now. I'll spare it now because luckily didn't affect the outcome of the game here today. But yeah, on the defense, like, did you notice much in terms of Clevin and Matampalo? I thought they were both like quietly pretty solid. There's not a
Yeah,
lot to say that like, oh, they were great or oh, they were bad or anything. They both just very limited minutes. They got the job done, right?
yeah. I think they were perfectly unnoticeable, if that makes sense. Like nothing good enough to be noticed and nothing bad enough to be noticed. So for two rookies, Clevin having a few games under his belt and Matt and Powell having his first NHL game, I think that's all you can really ask. Um and yeah, I maybe not ideal to have four guys on defense who played 20 21 45 or more, but no, like I completely get shell sheltering those two guys as much as you can. But also just like a really tough go for DJ on this one with your defenseman because like yeah, half the defense is missing, but it's also one guy from each pairing. So
Mm-hmm.
you can't even keep together one pair that you've had so far through the season. So everything's shuffled around. So um, yeah, we're gonna get to wanting everyone fired, but I will say right now that DJ is in a tough spot and did a pretty good job of things today, I think.
Yeah, so DJ manages to save his job for sure. There, if we lost this game, there was going to be a lot of speculation about the next 4 days off for the Sens, which I was gonna complain about. Like if we lost this game, I was like, I hate sitting on a loss for so long. But even though we won, I'm still
Yeah,
pissed. I'm still pissed now because it's like, come on, let's get another one. Let's go for another win already. But 4 days off, it probably would have been the ample time to make a change in coaching if you needed to, but we are at least back at 500, so probably not going to happen yet. But something that might happen is who knows about Pierre Dorion's job at this point, specifically with the report at the intermission from Elliot Friedman that the Sens are probably going to get punished over the Evgeny Dadonov trade fiasco, which I can already tell from the expression on your face has you pissed off and it has me pissed off too. But I'll let you start here.
yeah. So I guess to fill in anyone who doesn't know what's going on, somehow one of the more rough for Ottawa anyway, big name free agent signings is getting worse than it already was. So in the 2020 offseason, Sen signed Dadonov to a 3-year deal. Um, Played a full season with the Sens, looked fine, mostly just known for that phenomenal. I think he scored the OT winner in that huge 5-1 comeback against the Leafs.
Yep,
So you know what? That was worth a 5 mil for that season right there.
it was. It
Rent
was.
free. I don't give a fuck. Whatever.
It might not be worth it now though with what's happening.
Right. So essentially what happened is the Sens traded him to Vegas for Nick Holden and a pick. And then the Knights flip him to Anaheim or try to flip him to the Anaheim Ducks. But then they find out that Dadonov had a I don't remember if it was a no move or I think it was just a modified no trade. Right?
Something like
They
that.
didn't realize that he had a modified no trade. Didn't realize that until after the league had approved all the paperwork and everything for the trade to the Ducks. That trade gets nullified. And if you're wondering when that happened, over 2 years ago, it was during the 2021 offseason, I believe. And now, what, 27 months later, all of a sudden, the league is looking into what happened, and the Sens are probably going to get punished.
That's what
Um,
confuses me the most is it's been 2 years, right? It was 2021 trade deadline. So over 2 years at this point. Um why are they looking at it now? Like I highly doubt that they've been investigating this the entire time because how could it take this long to actually figure anything out? If it was taking this long, like you'd think they just wouldn't find any new info. But there has to be something, right? Because they wouldn't just suddenly, like 2 years later, be like, "Hey, remember that? Here's your punishment," just out of nowhere.
Yeah, like and you tweeted, you posted a screenshot of an article about it from the Time tonight, when they were like, "Yeah, no, we looked into it and it's cool."
Yeah,
Like,
Sportsnet reporting that there wasn't going to be any repercussions. It was a little bit of a vague report in how it was worded, so it wasn't like an official statement in terms of the league coming out and saying like, "Oh,
yeah,
nothing's gonna happen." But it was still reported. Like the specific wording from this Sportsnet article was the headline saying the Senators won't face league discipline after the Dadonov trade is voided, and then in the article it says the Senators have been cleared of any discipline by the league. So I don't think that the writer of that article, which unfortunately I don't have in my screenshot, so I can't remember right now, I don't think the writer of that article would have just like assumed that. I'm pretty sure they would have had actual confirmation to use that type of wording. So like it's possible, just because it wasn't a direct statement from the NHL, it's possible that that might not have been 100% the case. But again, I don't know why they would have written it like that if it didn't seem like it was just done and dusted.
it makes no sense. And if the rumor of it being a first round pick that the Sens have to give up is true, that's absolutely insane.
I'm gonna lose my shit. I'm gonna come on here and fucking
Yeah,
scream and rage, and it's already got me
like
swearing.
what the
Like
fuck? Like
horrible.
the Coyotes lost a first and a second when they were holding, like, I don't even know what you would call it, like training stuff for draft eligible players, right?
Yeah, players that they
Which was
didn't
completely
have
against the
the
rules.
rights to. Yeah, they were having training settings or sessions. So apparently this is on the same level as that. If the rumored punishment is true, that seems ridiculous to me. I don't know how you can even compare those two things.
First round pick or not, you take away a pick from the fucking Ottawa Senators for this, any pick, I don't care what round it is, that's a bigger fucking punishment than the Blackhawks had for their fucking the whole 2010 scandal thing going on. Like
100%.
$2 million. What the fuck are we doing? Like, and because Pierre Dorion forgot to mention on the phone, like, oh, whoops, yeah, my bad. He has a 10-team no trade list or whatever. That's worse.
Complete
The NHL is a
horseshit.
fucking
Like,
joke. The NHL is a fucking joke. If it's a third round pick, it's gonna be a fucking joke. Like,
it shouldn't be any picks, but thank you for bringing up the Chicago thing, because again, no draft picks for that, and they win the draft lottery. We already had the whole fiasco in the summer about everyone getting mad about that being a light punishment, and you're gonna tell me that a GM forgetting to mention something on a trade call is worse, that he should lose a first round pick over it? And this isn't even defending Pierre Dorion. Obviously he messed up. It's just that the punishment doesn't fit the screw up here whatsoever. And there's been literal sexual assault cover-ups with no draft pick loss. So
are you telling me that nobody who works for Vegas has fucking cap friendly?
yeah, seriously. They didn't, like, they say the onus was on Dorion to inform them, but they didn't think to look after either. Like, they acquire the player and then they go to trade him to Anaheim, and they don't make sure with the player, they don't even check. They just assumed ever since acquiring Dadonov from Dorion that there would be nothing to worry about. Like, they didn't do their due diligence either. So I don't understand.
No, it's a fucking joke. It's a fucking joke. And no, and we're not saying that Pierre Dorion didn't do anything wrong. If this is the case, he fucked up. But like, come on. And I mean, like, listen, if this is what you need, if this is what Michael Andlauer needs to say, all right, fuck it, you're done, then cool. Like, then we're moving along. But like, it's so stupid. It's so stupid. So here's what I'm thinking instead. I've come up with an alternative punishment for the Sens. I think, basically the Golden Knights missed out on their return. I don't remember what the return would have been for him from
Probably
the
not
Ducks.
even much.
Let me just double check on that.
That's the thing. Okay, the return that they potentially would have got for Dadonov, I guarantee you, is going to be less than what we're going to get fined. So where do they come up with a first round pick as the fine? If it ends up being that, which is the rumor reported by someone who was the first person to even mention that this would be being looked into again, so we have reason to believe it. Like, what was the potential trade return?
So it would have been Dadonov and a conditional second round pick to Anaheim for John Moore and
John Moore. Is he even in the league still?
That's a good question. And then it also would have been to bring in the contract of Ryan Kesler.
Oh God, yeah, just contract dumps going both ways, and a second round pick included on Vegas's side, meaning they were just paying Anaheim to take him.
Anyway, so here's what we got to do. We got to work our way back and figure out what to take away from the Sens. So, okay, so this trade didn't work out fine. What do the Sens get in return for Dadonov? It was Nick Holden and a pick. Well, Nick Holden retired. He played 2 seasons with Ottawa. You're never going to get that back. Fine. All right. Well, the pick. The pick was not the good one, but it was the defenseman named Elias Pettersson. But obviously the Sens didn't make that pick. So what do? Well, I guess we got to give up who the pick was traded for, which
I already know.
It's Travis Hamonic. What do you say we just void that silly contract with a no move and term, and we just call it a day? Gary, Mr. Bettman, can we make that happen?
Yeah,
I think it's only fair. I think it's only fair. I think we can call it a day.
As much as you joke, I still do think it's a legitimate point that you shouldn't fine the Sens more than what Vegas was losing out on from being able to trade Dadonov from Anaheim, which was the thing they thought that they were able to do, that they weren't able to do because Dorion didn't report the no trade clause. But even if he did report the no trade clause, then they wouldn't be able to trade him to Anaheim anyway. So it doesn't even make any sense that you really missed out on anything. And you wouldn't have been able to make the trade if everything was working as it should have in the first place. So even on that argument of lost value, they didn't get anything in return for Dadonov, and they gave up a pick along with him in that trade that got canceled. So the Sens getting fined a first, it's like, it was a mistake, but who was really wronged here? Like, no one missed out on anything other than Anaheim missing out on getting Dadonov and the extra pick. Like, they were getting a pick to take on a contract. So are we really going to lose a first round pick over that? Like, that's fucking ridiculous.
And I did mess something up, I think. The article was written in a funny way. So it was Vegas would receive John Moore and Ryan Kesler in return for... Okay, so it would have been Dadonov and a conditional second.
Yeah, that's what we had. Yep.
Yeah, so Vegas missed out on
some contract dumps
and John Moore.
That's it. And Anaheim missed out on a conditional second and having Dadonov, which, okay, whatever. Like,
yeah,
that's worth us losing a first. Like, no fucking way. Like, especially because, like, we have 2 first-round picks this year. It's going to be ours. If it gets revoked, it's going to be our own first, which is probably going to be a higher pick than the Detroit or Boston pick. Like, doesn't make any sense. If you want to be harsh on Dorion, I don't think it should be as harsh as a first-round pick. Like, a second-round pick, I would take that, you know? First-round pick is bullshit.
It's so stupid.
At least there was a second round pick in the trade that got canceled because of his screw up. Not a first.
Yeah. I don't know what else you can say about it. Like, it's just so stupid.
Pissed. And we're probably going to have to talk about it again once the punishment is announced. Happens. Because it will probably happen before the next show on Thursday, since we're off for so long. Which that pisses me off too.
That's a really good point, actually. Yeah, they've got like a full 4 days to find a way to fuck with this team.
Man, I'm pissed.
Say, you know, because Elliot Friedman was talking about it tonight, right? So say that because he's got his hands on some kind of story for it. At this point, safe to say that if something's going to happen, it would probably happen by end of the day Monday.
Oh yeah.
Um, if that's the case, do you just say if you're and Lauer, do you say, all right, fuck it, you're out of here to Dorion, and then you have 2 days to figure out what to do and just have I guess you just have Staios become interim GM until they
I
find
think
someone
so.
else?
This is the
Um,
thing. I think it would be unfair to fine us a first round pick. But even if we do get fined a first round pick, I think then it's kind of fair for Ann Lauer to can Dorion, just because
oh, for
even
sure.
even though I think it's unfair, that's what the punishment ends up being. That's pretty inexcusable for a GM to take that kind of punishment. Like, was it John Chayka, the GM of the Coyotes, when they
Yeah.
had draft picks fined? He didn't last very long after that, if at all. Like, I don't know when they let him go, but pretty sure it was pretty soon after that.
I think it was the same offseason.
Yeah, probably.
So yeah, I don't know. If Ann Lauer's been looking for an excuse, he's been handed one. Um,
For sure.
and this is um so today, the episode that Maude and I were on of the Zoobcast came out, and I think it's going to age very, very poorly because already one of the things we brought up was about how great the Greg
Yep.
Tarasenko and Joseph line is,
Mm-hmm.
and that's already gone.
That's gone.
And one of the things we talked about was who's gonna get fired first between DJ and Dorion, and we all went DJ. Um, and with this win, I think if the Sens had lost, and if Dorion's going to get canned anyway, it probably would have been both of them in
I
this
think so.
long kind of
Yeah.
gap before the game against the next one's against LA, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, I think DJ's kept his job for the next week anyway.
Yeah, which, yeah, like you said, we were debating about DJ or Dorian out first, and none of us expected the Sens to win this game. None of us were giving them any credit, so we were all saying DJ out first and expecting it to happen right away. But yeah, he
Yeah.
saved his job a little bit here tonight with this win. It's gonna be tougher against the Kings, I think, because I was watching their game last night against the Coyotes because I'm a sicko with nothing to do late at night, so watching that irrelevant ass game. But the Kings, according to their broadcast, have scored the most goals in the whole league so far. So these are not your 2012 LA Kings where they grind you to 2-0 wins. So it's gonna be a tough challenge for our defense on Thursday.
You put Forsberg in?
I assume that Korpisalo will be back in just because of how good he was tonight. Like, he was outstanding. So
That's what I would do as
gotta
well.
go with him. And pray that Zub is back as well. Pray that Zub can return in 4 days. But who knows? There hasn't really been an update on him.
Yeah, definitely the closest to coming back out of the injured defenseman. So
Mm-hmm.
hopefully, it would be really, really nice.
Yeah, and I guess
Desperately needed.
just before we wrap, I'll check the chat a little bit. Um, we did have some activity, but I was getting so riled up about talking about the potential draft pick punishment
Oh,
that like I kind of I kind of lost track of the chat here. But we'll see what was going on in there. Newbie saying the lesson to take from all of this is that the Ottawa Senators are the main character of the National Hockey League. Sadly, that seems to be the case. And sometimes I'm getting sick of it, I have to say.
if the Sens are the main character, then it's a comedy, not a fun
Or a
action
tragedy.
movie
Yeah.
or a tragedy, either or.
Could you imagine if the Ryan Reynolds bid won and they were doing a documentary right now and you had this Pinto stuff going down and you also had
Oh,
the Dorion like draft pick punishment? Could you imagine if that was all on a documentary?
we what we could have had,
Yeah.
what we could have had.
Oh boy.
Never
Delta
mind.
Go also saying that the whole incident with the Dadonov trade made the league look bad and they need a scapegoat, and they're not going to scapegoat the GM for Vegas, who is the Stanley Cup winning team. That makes sense. Like, from their perspective, I get
Yeah,
that. I get that, but I still just think the punishment is too harsh. Like, if they're going to punish us, a first round pick is way too much. I don't see how it
if
warrants that whatsoever.
if the Sens get made like an example of twice in a fucking week between Pinto and Dorian,
Mm-hmm.
uh, end of sentence, because I can't think of a way to
Yeah.
continue.
I was like,
What
where's
the
this
fuck?
going? Oh god.
Like, I don't have a table. My desk is like, it's attached to the wall. I don't have anything I can flip, but like I'd fucking
You'd try
start
anyway.
flipping.
You would
Yeah, I'd
be
flip some tables.
Yeah, you'd be ripping it out of the wall. And IC saying the fine does need to be more than the loss/gain, I guess, in terms of the potential trade. Otherwise, it's not a deterrent, which I do think is a fair point. But in terms of saying that it's a deterrent, it's like, we're pretty sure it was a mistake by Dorion. Unless there was some new information discovered that he did it on purpose, and which I don't know why. Like, that wouldn't even make any sense. Like, for what reason would you be trying to screw over Vegas? He didn't know a year before, when he traded Dadonov to Vegas, that this was going to come up. He probably just assumed that Dadonov would stay in Vegas. Like, how is he supposed to know? So it was probably just something that slipped his mind, a mistake. So I don't know. Like, what do you think about that?
I mean, he fucked up. Like, if
He definitely
if
fucked
you're
up.
making a trade, you have to be, put everything on the table. Let them know, even though like, should Vegas have known already before even calling about him? Yes. Does that mean that Pierre gets a pass for doing something really stupid? Absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
He absolutely is to blame in that, regardless of whether or not the punishment is absurdly tough.
Yeah,
It has no reason to be that much. It should be a financial thing, right? Like,
for
in my
sure.
opinion, it should be, the team should be fined, but
Yeah, like, why is it draft pick related in the first place anyway? Like, again, we were talking about the whole Chicago cover-up scandal was a money fine, even though that had to do with actual mistreatment of players, which makes your organization look bad, when you're drafting new 18-year-olds and signing them. That didn't affect their draft picks at all, but something that has nothing to do with that is going to take a draft pick away for some reason.
so stupid. And part of me is like, why are you waiting this long? But if they hadn't waited this long and the Sens lost a first, then we wouldn't get to say Jacob Chikrin is an Ottawa Senator.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. It's so stupid. Listen, if someone does something stupid and it's against the rules, punish them when it happens, or
Yeah.
fuck off.
Exactly. I feel like it's been too long in
It's
terms of
been way too
how
long.
it seemed like it was settled. It seemed like, yeah, it was a mistake, but no one really got screwed over that bad, other than there being some confusion, and then they worked it out at the league offices, and like with the trade calls, right? Like, who is still hurting from this?
Yeah, Dadonov's on a different contract now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It's so silly.
Hell, he could have Anaheim could have signed him if they wanted him that much after the season. They didn't do that. Like,
Yeah,
no one, it's not that big a deal. So, this is pissing me off for sure.
this is so stupid.
Mm-hmm.
I'm I'm a little bit relieved that I'm not on the Thursday night game in case something happens, because
It could be
it's just
chaotic.
going to be like me screaming into the camera for the whole
Yep.
show if that was the
Oh
case.
god. Yeah, well, since you mentioned that, I guess that's probably where we'll wrap up. I'll be back on Thursday night to cover the game with Louis Boulet from the Zoobcast. Always love having Louis on, so that should be a great game. Maybe we will have an update on this whole Dorion situation. Maybe we won't, but regardless, it should be an entertaining matchup against the Kings. Yeah, that's where we're going to leave it. So subscribe to SDPN if you haven't. Leave a like on the video. Thank you for watching, everyone.
See you next time.
Get